corresponds to the days between Pesach and Shavuos, which I was also trying to do that, but I didn't quite finish, whatever. So finish a little late, so we'll finish now. I'm make a Siyum now. So this Siyum is based on a Siyum that the Rebbe makes he made in the year Mim Aleph in Parshas Ba'aloischa, and it was the idea of the Siyum is basically that in the end of Mesechta Sota, it speaks about the period of Ikvas de Mashiach, the period right before Mashiach comes, which would be a very unusual and wild period. And similarly, the end of Mesechta Sanhedrin speaks about the same type of inyonim of the period of Ikvas de Mashiach, when there be tremendous turmoil in the world. And actually, the Rebbe answered in a letter, whatever, from the Ha'aras, from the Yeshiva Bachram, why he specifically gives a Ha'ara regarding Mesechta Sota, when actually it speaks about the same thing in Sanhedrin. Is basically because he wrote the letter during the period of Sphira, and that was more shaykh at that time. But also he says there's another explanation, that there's a difference in the two siyumim and the discussion about this period and the upheaval in the period of Ikvas de Mashiach. And the difference is that Sanhedrin speaks more of a worldly approach, not only regarding how the world will be for Yidden, but how the world will be for Goyim as well. Whereas Sota speaks, although it speaks also about inyanim in the world, but as they apply to Yidden, and also inyanim that only apply to Yidden. So, like for instance, it brings in the Siyum of Sota that also in Sanhedrin that Yayin will be biyaker. There's going to be inflation. Wine will be very expensive. But this specifically applies to Yidden because we need wine for Kiddush and Havdalah. And he speaks about the Inyan, there'll be chutzpah, that a daughter will speak against, have chutzpah to her mother, and so on. He says this is also more regarding Yidden, because we would take this more to heart. And in Sanhedrin, it speaks a lot about the tremendous fighting and killing that will be going on, the situation in the world. It says the waters of the cave of Pamayas, which comes out as a source of the Jordan River, will be filled with blood, and there'll be no palm trees in Babel, which won't have a horse tied to it from the Persian conquerors. And it says every coffin in Eretz Yisrael will be used for straw for the horses. And on that, Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma says, please, when you bury me very deep, because I don't want my coffin to be used for that. But it's a very tremendous upheaval in the world at large. Rav has a memra that the Roman armies will be going through Eretz Yisrael for a 9-month period, whatever it all means. But the Rebbe asked a question, so how come in Sota it says, the Malchus u'itahofech leminas, the ruling party will be turned over to Avodah Zarah, to Minos. It's very simple. There's also a Jewish Union. What's a Jewish Union? Even though all the ruling parties will be connected to Avodah Zarah, but in this time, the Roman world, which we're in the Galus of Edom now, will be turned over to a specific Minos, a specific type of minim of apocorsis, which comes from a Jew. You know, the Jew who made the Nazari religion, and that's what spread throughout the world. So we have something to do with that because it started out as a Jewish boy who went off the track. Osa Ha'ish. So the Rebbe asked, how come we said that Sanhedrin speaks about the situation in the world, and Sota speaks about more of the situation regarding the Jewish people? Very simply, because Sanhedrin is, of course, it's a psak and it's instruction, but it's not only for Yidden, it's how Torah and Hira goes out to the entire world. Whereas Sota is a specifically Jewish idea. There's nothing about that in the Goyish world. What is Sota? Sota has to be, as the Rebbe says, it has to be, you have to have a chuppah and kedushin. You have to have a marriage, a kedas meisha v'Yisrael. It has to be totally a Jewish wedding. And then what can happen is that, the wife gets, is kisishta ishta, she goes off the derech of snias, and there has to be the whole process, which is the inyan of Sota. The Rebbe says, what is this inyan in Ruchnius? The inyan in Ruchnius is very simple. Ish v'isha is HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the chosin, the husband, and Isha is Yidden. So it's explained in Shir Hashirim and Avi and Chassidus in so many places. So what's it mean? Kisishta Ishta, when the wife goes off the path. So it says a person doesn't go off the path unless there's a ruach shtus. He does an avera because he gets a whatever, this ruach shtus. So the Rebbe says a Jew to do an avera. This is not possible. The Zohar said a Jew to do an avera. Oh, it's wondrous. How could such a thing be? How could it be? But only because of the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara is a creation of God. He says 4 things. The Gemara says 4 things he has regret about. One is Golus, another is the nation called Kasdim, one is the nation called the Yishmaelim, and the 4th one is the Yetzer Hara. So the Abishur created this, and he even has regret every day. He has regret about it. But what he didn't have to do because of that. So it says we have, what is the woman who goes, the Yetzer Hara leads her off the path, she does something not sneistic, she has to be tested to see what happened, if anything really happened. And so the Rebbe says in Ruchnius, what does this mean? She has to drink this Yemen Marim Hamor, this bitter water. That's what we're also doing. The Yidden, through all the period of Golus, every day, every week, every year, every 100 years, the thousands of years we're in Golus, we're drinking this water to prove our innocence. How does it prove our innocence? Very simply, because even the simplest Jew will have Mesiras Nefesh to maintain his connection to God. When it comes down to the bottom line, the simplest Jew is ready to have Mesiras Nefesh to maintain his shidduch to the Eibishter. So, basically, then it means we already went through the water. We proved ourselves. We went through the water. So, what's the bottom line? That the husband has to take care of his wife. And we're just making a Siyum also today in Rambam on the halachas of Ishus. And we learned about the 3 things that a husband has to give to his wife. Sher ksusa v'yenosa. He has to give clothing, sustenance, and closeness. So the Abishur has to give us also these 3 things. So it says also there's another thing here. By Matan Torah, it says the Abishur held the mountain over us kegigis. And he said, either you're going to accept the Torah, or this is going to be your resting place. So what's that mean? It means like a husband is forcing the wife. So that means that's like, when such a thing happens and a man forces a woman, there's a din. The din is, he has to be, she has to keep her as a wife forever. He can't send her away ever. So the Abishur forced us. He held the mountain over us, so he can never send us away, no matter what we do. And we didn't do anything wrong. We only do right. So he has to support his wife. And how does he have to support it? So we also learned in Hilchos Ishus what? That the husband has to support his wife according to his means. Which means a rich husband has to give his wife a lot a lot of garments and a lot of food, steaks every night and whatever. So the Eibishter, who's the Melech Malchei Amlochim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, according to his abilities, he has to sustain his wife, us, the Jewish people, which means we're like a Malka, we're the queen, and we have to be given everything that we want and need, and everything that we could ever want or need. So in the actual Siyum, which I'm going to do right now, so it says at the end of the Mesechta, actually there's two gears of what the Siyum is. One is a brisa of Rabbi Pinchas ben Yoer, which says basically Zehiras maybe they zrizas, being careful brings to alacrity, zrizas maybe they Nikias maybe they Tahara comes to Tahara, and so on, until it says Chasidis brings to Ruach HaKedesh brings to Tchias HaMesim, Ba Eliyahu Novi, Zichron Livracha B'Meheru V'Yamenu Yahweh should come immediately in our days via Golenu King Yehiratza and Amen. But that is the brisa, but the main siyum of Sota is slightly different, and it goes through various things that are that happen in the period after the destruction of the temple and so on, when the great rabbis were all departed. And it says, Tana Rabban Mishemes Rabbi Eliezer Nigna Sefer Torah. After Rabbi Eliezer passed away, there was like no more Sefer Torah, because he was like a built-in Sefer Torah. Mishemes Rabbi Yeshua, Bagla Eitz of Umachshava, Eitz of proper advice and thought was gone. Mishemes Rabbi Akiva, Bagla Zreyateta, the arms of Torah were gone when Rabbi Akiva was gone. Nisatmu minus HaChochma, the well springs of Chochma were hidden. Mishemes Rabbi Lazar ben Azariah, the great Rabbi Lazar ben Azariah, Botlo Ataras Chochma, the crown of Chochma. He was wealthy, he was royal, and so on. Shateras Chacham Ashram, because the crown of the Chachams are wealth, and he was very wealthy. Mishemes Rabbi Chanina ben Desa Botlo Anshe Maise. Rabbi Chanan ben Desa was known for miraculous mises that he was involved in. Mishemes Abba Yesi ben Katainta Botlo Chasidim. When he passed away, there were no more Chasidim. Lamanika Shmei Abba Yesi ben Katainta. Why was he called Abba Yesi, the son of the small one? Shahaya Katnei Chasidim. He was one of the smallest, or the last of the Chasidim. Mishemes ben Azai, Botlo Hashakdonim, after ben Azai, who learns constantly, when never stopping, so the Shakdonim, people constantly learn that he was the last of those. Mishemes ben Zema, Botlo Hadarshan, the people give drushes, were ended after ben Zema. Mishemes Shim ben Gamliel, Ola Goivai, Rabbi, so then the sorrows really started to happen. Mishemes Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, Huchbal Atzaros, and the Tzaros really started to happen because he was very close. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi was very close to the Roman government, and so things were, as long as he was around, things stayed on an even keel. But once he was gone, then that's when the whole Roman Indian of the worst parts of Gauls really began. Mishemes Rabbi, it says Mishemes Rabbi Botla Anova V'Yiraschei. When Rabbi passed away, there was no more Anivas, humility and fear of sin. And then it says Amar Lei Rabbi Yosef Latana. Rabbi Yosef says, wait a minute, to the Tana, the person who's giving this over, who's memorized and knows all these Mishnayos and so on. Let Tishna know. No, don't say that. Don't say humility stopped. Because the Ikano, because I'm still around. Amar le Reb Nachman Latana. So Reb Nachman said, let Tisna Yiras don't say, also don't teach what you said about Yiras because Dikano, because I'm around. So obviously there's, what do you mean? A person says, he says, don't say there's no more humble people around because I'm still around. So there are a lot of answers given to that, which we're not going to speak about that now. I mean, he had to say the truth. That's one answer. There are many other answers, and the Rebbe has some beautiful, deep sichos about it. But here, the Rebbe says, in the conclusion is, wait a minute. We're talking about HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Yisrael, the husband and the wife. Who's bigger Anovim, humble? Who's the most humble? The Jewish people. Why are we the most humble? Because we could have demanded everything we said before, that God, the husband, has to give us everything. He has to give us everything we want and need. And he has everything in the world. So he has to give according to his means. And we never pushed him on this. We could have pushed him on this. So we're really the humble people we never pushed. So, and besides, he has to be married to us forever because he forced us to accept the Torah. At Matan Torah, he's like forced us. So, like, we're the real humble people. So, besides that, the Abishur is the one who created the Yetzer Hara, and he himself said he regrets it every day. So, we have the most anivas. So he has to listen to us. And he concludes by saying, listen, someone here should give a clap on Tish. He should say that, take of Miyad, Mashiach should come right away.
Pop. There's a pop for you.
I said it. Throw me a garden.
Give us those famous words.
Sitting here somewhere.
Here, he has it in here.
You got placers?
That's
That's
around.
kidding. Kidding.
Start from up here. And, it's
Very hard to listen to.
Hydrolog, Aglarufa, Egla Rufus, Stigla, sorry. Hanalon, Seta, Hanalon, died no law, was a Seta, died no law, was Nietzsche, Mina, was a Seta, was Nishi, Mina, with our Hadeva, Obama Darcy, what's it not going to have in Zeno, should I take us, no Seno, by Hazes, hey, Monolum Habo. Anina bar papa, Rom bar papa, Nag bar papa, Ach bar papa, Av Morin bar papa, Rak bar papa, Rux bar papa, Surcha bar papa, Al bar papa, Dora bar papa, Arvnadi Nelehenas, Libre Serosla, Bavino Fico, Amcho Base Israel, Nia Nachman said Sayeno, that say Amcho Base Israel, Coloni, De Shmechel and De Sorosol, Lishma, Revit Chakmain, Mitzvah Sel Kilam, Hili, Libi, some Hukevel Man, Levi, Layashka, Kivon, Kisono, Morakato Adinoilum, then Hukevel Main on Main, Saloboet, Mimanaknu, Vaponeko, Adinoilin, Zeno, Shasamto, Cocaine, Base Hamedosh, Wazam, Cocaine, Mikron, they show on the Mashkim, Libre Tera, Mashkim, Gorim Batalin, on a mailing, on a mailing. Kavim skar v'hem amelin v'hem kavim skar on the rotzim v'hem rotzim on the rotzim kayim habo v'hem rotzim v'ver shachas ne'emar v'ato Elohim toridein v'ver shachas anshei dam mirma v'yatz yimei v'ani aftach boch yirotzim v'nechad dina Eli hai kishem sharv zartani l'sayim v'zega seita kintan zein l'haskem v'zega Mesechta Sfar Macherin Sayim Ha'amil Lami Lishma Lazo Zukayim it's going to be very solemn there was a behavos who's called Hatanoim Amoraim, Zamei Chacham Yam Leuzare Shalom Tamosh Hater Mipi Zari Zari Adela Miskayim Be Misalecho, Tankeso, Bishoklecho, Tishmor Lecho, Vakitza, he's Kecho, Kivi, Yebu Yamecho, Vizilecho, Shneis Chayim, Raviam Bilmina, Bismail, Isha Bakobe, Adonai Eze Amo Yitain, Adonai Yavarekas Ame, Vasholei. He's got that,
Turn around. Turn around.
Shmei Ravo.
Amen.
Die was ordained, die we gaan asser, we asser je heen, we kunnen schlomen rabben, geen begin raden, geen rekening zijn die gaan, we kunnen komen abun die schmaaien, die imramen. Hey, schlomen rabben, min schmaaien, geen die malina, kon je zo die imramen. Eens de shalom die imramen, ja die malina, kon je zo die imramen.
Amen. Yasher Koyach. Amazing Siyum.
You're hired.
Koyach.